2018 Dacia Sandero Review. The good points of Dacia Sandero. Most affordable new car inside the UK. Roomy cabin and practical boot. Most models are well equipped. Efficient engine range. The bad points of Dacia Sandero. Rivals are definitely more fun they are driving. Standard kit is poor on base model. Diesel engine is noisy. Interior quality is off of the pace. If you're searching for a brand new car next, the Dacia Sandero hatchback will be as cheap since it gets inside UK, starting below £6,000. And as you can tell, it's not just a tiny city car either. Size-wise the Sandero rivals names like the Ford Fiesta and Vauxhall Corsa, yet its prices are less than smaller Ka Plus and Viva from those brands. Sounds intriguing, doesn't it? So how exactly does Dacia have the ability to do it so cheaply? Well, in the skin it shares its platform and mechanical components together with the Renault Clio, but a young generation of model, and it's built in Romania, with cheaper labor costs than all kinds of other EU countries. Petrol and diesel Sandero engines. There's a finite range of 3 engines for that Dacia Sandero, some petrols and also a diesel. With 90 horsepower, the 1.5-liter Dacia diesel offers impressive frugality, but only in the event you cover an increased number of miles annually, something most small car customers don't usually do. More suitable will likely be one in the 3-cylinder petrol engines, as both versions should still manage 45 miles per gallon in person. There's a non-turbo 1.0-liter motor with 75 horsepower that replaced an early-on 1.2-liter unit while using same power in 2016, or, more appealingly, a 0.9-liter turbocharged engine also with 90 horsepower. Clearly these aren't outputs that may sate enthusiastic drivers who enjoy to press on. Nevertheless they enable the Sandero for making adequate progress, regardless of whether overtaking maneuvers call for a bit more forward planning. Function over form. At 320 liters together with the seats in position, the Dacia Sandero's boot is on the list of largest inside small hatchback sector, and all of models get yourself a 6040 split rear bench as standard, although it's worth noting his doesn't fold flat. More frustratingly for just a car where you'd expect practicality will be centered upon, there's no external means of opening the tailgate save for implementing the key. At least there's a release lever down at the side on the driver's seat. The cabin actually is no frills, even higher-spec Sanderos still feel for no more side with numerous hard, hollow-sounding plastic. Nevertheless, it feels pleasingly robust in the construction, without the need of sense that anything flimsy will disappear in your hand. Paucity of entry-level Sandero equipment. Just like the larger Dacia Duster SUV, you will find 3 trim levels from the Sandero range: Access, Ambience plus the top-of-the-range Laureate. Although it's the entry-level Access model while using temptingly low automobile, in reality you are buying an incredibly basic car, without electric windows, stereo equipment or aircon. It's the middle-ranking Ambience model which can hit the sweetest spot inside the Sandero range since it includes a volume of features buyers have started to expect as givens nowadays, including an easy-to-use touchscreen for your multimedia system. Most Sandero buyers, somewhat surprisingly, opt for your range-topping Laureate specification. Nonetheless it's probably none we would recommend since at the top end in the range you're to the price territory of more conventional, and polished, superminis. The verdict. Let's be clear, the Dacia Sandero hatchback isn't an undesirable car, it merely feels off of the pace in contrast to much newer plus more refined rivals, and that's fine supplying you with buy one through the cheaper echelons from the range. Sure, a multimedia system and aircon aren't necessities, but they also do make budget new car motoring simpler to embrace, though the trinkets designed for higher spec models negate the Sandero's value for money appeal. Does it sound right as a used buy against used versions of more accomplished alternatives? Watch on within our full Dacia Sandero hatchback review. Limited choice of engine choices. Diesel offers best economy. Turbo petrol a desirable all-rounder. Chances are should you're considering a Dacia Sandero then performance isn't at the top of your priority list, and that is just along with none in the engines even muster 100 horsepower. Petrol engine selection. Entry-level engine at launch would be a non-turbocharged 75 horsepower 1.2-liter 16 volts, which completed the 0.62 miles per hour sprint in the leisurely 14.5 seconds. Its top speed was a likewise unremarkable 97 miles per hour. At the final of 2016 it was replaced by the 3-cylinder, 1.0-liter 75 power plant, again and not using a turbo, also producing 75 horsepower. Performance was marginally improved. Top speed rose to 98 miles per hour, while 0.3 of a second were shaved from the 0.62 miles per hour time. It possesses an engaging, growly soundtrack. Nonetheless, it requires effort to create swift progress, meaning overtaking maneuvers need to be considered carefully. More appealing as a result of a little extra grunt will be the T90, a turbocharged version with the 1.2-liter unit. As its title suggests, it offers 90 horsepower on tap, meaning a high speed of 109 miles per hour and also a 0.62 miles per hour use of 11.1 seconds. Don't feel that because its turbocharged hose is particularly zippy, you'll be working the gearbox tough to maximize its performance. Single diesel offering. The sole diesel engine inside range is 1.5-liter DC90 motor, again with 90 horsepower. It will reach 62 miles per hour in 11.8 seconds and has achievable top speed of 107 miles per hour. It feels moderately punchy, and even more brisk from slower speeds as opposed to its petrol, but diesels and small cars rarely sound right as you have to hide Starship mileages to recoup the initial price premium in fuel-saving terms. Plus, on shorter, urban-centric journeys, diesel engines aren't especially efficient anyway. It's a smaller hatch, so it's nimble around tighter bends. But there's little enjoyment being derived from it. Nevertheless, it's a comfy supermini. Somehow Dacia has been able to dial out a lot in the inherent fun that is normally part and parcel of your small car package, making the Sandero rather lackluster to operate a vehicle. In fairness, the Romanian brand isn't hunting for drivers looking for an engaging steer. Quite contrary, in fact several Dacia buyers have practically no interest in cars as anything besides transportation machines. While it's nowhere close to as sharp and nimble to be a Ford Fiesta, it doesn't disgrace itself, with body roll kept reasonably under control, although there's little by strategy for communication by what the front wheels are approximately through the steering. It's also heavier to change than most advanced superminis, making urban driving a bit of your chore. Still, what's left is comfy, with decently managed damping to stop it from rocking back and forth over undulating surfaces. It doesn't particularly master this field. The Citroën C3 continues to be comfort king, nonetheless it's not especially far removed. Sandero's interior seems like a step back in its history. Nevertheless it's all well assembled within. Pity it appears so drab, though. If you're hot for acres of grey, hard plastics finished inside a multitude of textures, then your Dacia Sandero could be the small hatchback you've been yearning for. Also, it's probably time you found out what class-leading superminis resemble inside. If you owned a Renault through the mid-2000s, then this likelihood is that you'll feel at home within the Sandero as much on the switchgear as repurposed from Clios and Megans of yore. That includes the useful stereo controls about the steering column and also the perplexing decision to own cruise control switches in 3 separate locations. The central dashboard plinth, using its circular air vents and multimedia screen or even a cubby when you go for an access version, seems to resemble the facial skin of some sort of robotic 1970s Doctor Who villain. Everything's simple to operate. All this just lacks any real almost tactile or appearance, which can be a shame. Compliant tried and chunky tires. Plenty of interior space, too. Pity the seats are incredibly shapeless. Considering how little the Dacia Sandero costs, along with the money saving that continues to be made to get it to generate it so inexpensively, comfort levels are surprisingly good. Sure, others within the segment are better. We're taking a look at you specifically, Citroën C3, but given just how much room there is within the Sandero too, it's a unique package coming from a comfy perspective. The seats are fine on journeys of your moderate length, however the front pair for example could do with more side bolstering should you're meaning to regularly undertake longer drives. They feel suitably thick of cushion, though. And even though the rear bench is similarly flat, there's decent room within the Dacia for 4 6-footers. Aircon, standard on ambience models upwards, makes all the interior considerably more bearable on hot days, in addition to demisting the windows more efficiently when winter approaches. Entry-level specification is extremely basic. Misses on new arrivals kit. Few options to make a choice from. Since launch, barring a sprinkling of special editions, the Sandero range has stayed true to its trio of trim levels: Access, Ambience and Laureate. Standard Dacia Sandero hatchback equipment. Access. Entry point towards the whole Dacia range, not to say the Sandero lineup. Access represents basic transportation compared to its contemporaries. 15-inch steel wheels. Black bumpers, door handles and mirror housings. LED day running lights. 60/40 split rear seat. Wiring for stereo equipment. Ambience. Rather better to live with, maybe the next rung the Sandero hierarchy. Full body color bumpers. Gloss black and satin chrome detailing. 3 height adjustable rear seat head restraints. Central locking. Stop-start system. Air conditioning. A boot light. Electric front windows. 4-speaker sound system with Bluetooth connectivity. Laureate. Topping the product range, although not being an especially good selection, the flagship Sandero boasts body-colored door handles and mirror housings. Trip computer. Cruise control. Speed limiter. Rear parking sensors. Front fog lights. Electric door mirrors. Height adjustable driver's seat, seatbelts and tire. MediaNav Evolution multimedia system with SatNav. Optional Dacia Sandero hatchback extras. Options aren't exactly plentiful within the Sandero range. Dacia instead prefers you to definitely progress to your next trim level up, hence why countless top-spec Laureates are available. Laureate versions might be specified, which has a comfort pack comprising of electric rear windows plus a soft feel controls, as can leather whispers, and vinyl upholstery don't bother, as well as a front armrest. Again, leave alone, it's set too low for the majority of drivers. A set of different alloy wheel designs in 15 and 16-inch diameters could also spruce up your Laureate's exterior, and also a reversing camera can supplement the parking sensors, while metallic paint can be optional around the ambience, however, not base-level access. 4-star rating from Euro NCAP. Misses on modern safety kit. Pair of ISOFIX points on rear bench. Back in 2013, once the Dacia Sandero was crash-tested from the experts at Euro NCAP, its 4-star safety rating was impressive for just a budget car. It should have already been, too, given parent company Renault's expertise in search engine optimization. Sadly, the company hasn't kept around the same degree as much with the competition, so preventative systems including autonomous emergency braking, lane-keeping aids and blind spot monitoring. Still, the most common suspects of ABS and electronic stability control exist and correct. Transporting young children inside your Sandero? Then the 2 of ISOFIX child C8 mounting points for the outer rear seats are great. Roomy cabin to get a Super Mini. Oddments storage is disappointing. Boot is large, though, 60/40 split standard. Thanks to its generous external dimensions, the Dacia Sandero is one of many most spacious Super Minis for sale. 4 adults can easily be accommodated, that has a 5th slotting and giving the journeys a day or 2. Somewhat disappointingly, storage for bits and pieces is poor, with merely the glove box providing any almost lidded cover. Everything else you store in among the many cubbies will likely be exposed to prying eyes. Light and compact, it's an easy task to place and park the Dacia Sandero, even models that without sensors from the rear bumper and the optional reversing camera. Perhaps this is when those unpainted bumpers on the base spec models really enter into their own. In practicality terms, the Sandero really makes its own, most famously because it has one of several largest boot volumes in their class and is particularly something of any rarity for the reason that 60/40 split rear seats are standard. They don't lie completely flat after you fold them over, however they're a useful thing to get without paying extra the same. The parcel shelf feels a tad flimsy, then again material quality is virtually no watchword elsewhere inside the cabin either. Nevertheless, it feels as robust inside the boot because Sandero does elsewhere. Just keep in mind that you can't open the tailgate external to the car without the main element, although there is certainly a release lever down because of the side on the driver's seat.